You know, some stories are just timeless, and this is one of the most brutal and gripping tales of ambition you'll ever hear. It really makes you ask a chilling question. What happens when someone seizes power through pure violence? And what are the consequences? Not just for the tyrant, but for the very people who put him on the throne.
Yeah, that's a shocking question, right? But it is at the absolute heart of this story. We're talking about a man named Abimelech, and his path to becoming king starts with an act of cruelty that's, well, it's almost unimaginable. So how on earth did he pull it off? And maybe more importantly, what happened next?
Okay, so Abimelech's rise to power all kicks off with a plan that is as calculated as it is ruthless. This wasn't some crime of passion. This was a cold, strategic move to wipe out all the competition for the crown.
So Abimelech, he doesn't start his campaign with an army. He starts it with an idea. He goes to his mom's hometown, the powerful city of Shechem, and he makes this brilliant political pitch. First, he plays on their fears of instability. 70 rulers sounds like total chaos, right? And then he plays the family card. Hey, remember me? I am your flesh and blood. It's a political playbook as old as time. Stir up a little fear and then offer yourself up as the simple, strong solution.
And you know what? It works. His strategy was brutally efficient. Let's break it down. First, he leans on those family ties. Then, the people of Shechem give him 70 shekels of silver, money they stole from a temple, by the way, to finance his whole operation. He takes that cash and hires what the text calls reckless scoundrels. And the final, absolutely horrifying step? He takes his new gang to his own father's house and murders all 70 of his brothers on a single stone.
All 70 brothers are killed. Well, except for one. The youngest, Jotham, manages to hide and escape. His survival completely changes the game because it introduces the moral core of this conflict, a prophetic curse that is going to hang over everything that happens next.
Okay, so picture this. The citizens of Shechem are all gathered together to officially crown Abimelech as their game. And then, all of a sudden, this voice just rings out from Mount Gerizim, looming above them. It's Jotham, the sole survivor of the massacre, and he's not there to beg for his life. Oh no, he's there to deliver a warning.
To get his message across, Jotham tells a parable. He talks about how the worthy trees, the olive, the fig, the vine, they all refuse to be king because they actually have something valuable to give to the world. They're productive. But the thorn bush, it's useless, it's dangerous, and all it offers is a fake promise of shade and a threat of fire. And yeah, you guessed it, that thorn bush is Abimelech. It's this really stark warning. The people who crave power the most are almost always the least fit to actually have it.
So this is the crucial point, the curse. Jotham lays it out, plain and simple. Look, if you people of Shechem have acted honorably, then fine. But if you haven't, if you've just crowned a murderer, then you are going to destroy each other. Fire will come from Abimelech to consume you, and fire will come from you to consume him. It's basically a prophecy of mutual destruction.
So for 3 years, Abimelech rules, and it kind of seems like Jotham's curse was just a bunch of empty words. But then, the alliance starts to crack, right in the very city that made him king.
Just look at how quickly this all fell apart. In year 0, they're bankrolling his bloody takeover. But just 3 years later, the relationship is filled with bitterness and treachery. The same people who put him in power are now openly rebelling against him.
And this rebellion, it finds a voice in a guy named Gaal. In his taunt, it just says everything. He gets up and publicly mocks Abimelech, questioning his very right to rule. The people who once said, "He is our brother," are now saying, "Why should we serve this guy?" It just goes to show you how fast loyalty that was bought with favors and fear can just evaporate.
Now, Abimelech, the thornbush king, he is not the kind of guy who takes insults lightly. His response to this betrayal is swift, it is total, and it is terrifying. This is where the story hits its violent climax, and where that curse really starts to catch fire.
He goes on an absolute rampage and systematically annihilates the city. He crushes their forces, he captures the city, and he kills every single person inside. But he doesn't stop there. He tears down the walls and, in a final act of pure desolation, he scatters salt all over the ruins, just to make sure nothing can ever grow there again.
So the survivors, they flee to a stronghold, a tower. Abimelech marches his men up a nearby mountain, has them all cut down branches, piles the wood up against the tower, and sets it on fire. About 1,000 men and women are burned alive. The first part of Jotham's curse, fire from Abimelech consuming Shechem, is fulfilled in the most horrific way you can imagine.
But remember, The curse had two parts. Abimelech, fresh off this horrifying victory, moves on to crush the last pocket of rebellion in a nearby town called Thebes. He's at the absolute height of his power, completely unaware that his own end is literally just moments away.
He's doing the same thing he did in Shechem, getting ready to set the city's tower on fire. But as he gets close, an unnamed woman up on the roof drops an upper millstone, just a common tool for grinding grain, and it cracks his skull. In a single moment, the great warrior, the tyrant, is brought down by an ordinary person with an ordinary household object.
And even in his final moments, mortally wounded, what's Abimelech's only concern? His legacy. His ego. He begs his armor-bearer to finish him off, just so nobody can say he was killed by a woman. It's just a stunning, final act of vanity from a man who is obsessed with his own image.
His servant does what he asks, and he dies. And the second he falls, his entire army just disbands. They all go home. His power, which was built on nothing but fear and violence, was completely personal and hollow. The moment he was gone, it vanished into thin air.
So, the violence is over. The tyrant is dead. The rebellious city is just a pile of salted rubble. And now we can see the whole story for what it really is, the perfect, brutal fulfillment of a curse.
The one word that really sums up this entire saga is retribution. Every single crime, from the murder of his 70 brothers to the city that funded that murder, was paid back, in full. The whole story is this perfect closed loop of cause and effect. You can see the whole arc right here. The initial crime led directly to the curse. The curse perfectly predicted the betrayal. The betrayal triggered the violent retribution, and that retribution ultimately consumed both the city and the tyrant, exactly like Jotham had foretold.
And the original text, it leaves zero room for doubt. It states it plainly. This wasn't just a series of random, unfortunate events. This was a reckoning. The wickedness of both the tyrant and the people who enabled him was repaid, and the curse came true.
Now, this might be an ancient story, but the pattern itself is timeless, isn't it? It's such a powerful cautionary tale about the leaders we choose. When a society decides to put a violent, self-serving thorn bush into a position of power, should anyone really be surprised when they eventually get consumed by the flames? So what does this ancient story teach us about the leaders we choose today and the kind of power we're willing to give them?